The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by Advanced Technology Partners.
What should parents and educators be teaching about investments and finances in general? And at what age should be teaching this to these children?
I think soft skills is probably the biggest one, as in basic budgeting, basic understanding of the market, basic understanding of taxes. We've all taken planning your financial future or something just like it in college, right? I feel like that should be pretty much just that class should be accessible at a high school level, not even at a collegiate level. Like it's kind of, sorry for the hot take here, but it's crazy that I had to learn about weather patterns, but I didn't learn about taxes in college. I had to take my core classes to learn that. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but anything start small and start at a broad audience, because people have to go out of their way to find financial education, and there's so much miseducation out there, especially now.
I'm a financial advisor and I work at a bank, and my kids didn't have a savings account until they started working. So that was my bad almost, that I didn't start them earlier, because I do think that if you do have a child that's young, that they are doing chores and you are giving them, some type of compensation for them to do those chores. To do those chores, I think it's important that they learn, the value of money and budgeting and understanding that they do want to buy something, they have to save for it. So once I started the savings account for my children and they got to see their, online accounts and what they're spending money on, and we went through their budgets, I think, that makes sense, that starting earlier, because now they're a little bit behind the eight ball, but it's never too early to start, but it's never too late to get your child involved. And understanding, what I do and understanding investing. They also I started a custodial account for them so they can see, we started it with a pretty basic S&P 500 index fund, and them showing them, putting $25 a month into that account and showing them how it grows and giving them online access and showing them the value of money and them being actually excited about seeing their values grow. So.
Yeah, and kids are wonderfully curious, and and you can cut this if you want, but you have a 9-year-old, and he is obsessed about starting a landscaping company someday. He's been obsessed since 3 years old, and it's so funny. You'll think I made it up because of the question in the panel, but last night after I tucked him in, he started to just ask me questions about, Dad, how do you start a business? Is there a lot of paperwork? And he starts it, and he's thinking about it from this landscaping perspective of, can you start with one garage and then add a second bay someday? And I say all of that to say, kids are amazingly curious. I wish some of my clients asked those kinds of questions, frankly, because the older you get, the more secure you are about, what you know and what you don't. But I have always taken the tact of trying to talk to our kids as if they were an adult and let them ask the questions. And you'd be surprised at how you can instill some good habits that way.
So I have two children. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I often think about this conversation, and started very early thinking about this conversation with my children. I think about the conversation I have when we're speaking at high schools or colleges with other students. And there's really 3 areas that I think are the most important when we're talking about educating our youth about their finances. I think that number one is teaching them mindfulness. I think that if you turn on the TV and watch TV alongside your children, you understand that they're constantly under attack about what someone is telling them or encouraging them to buy. And teaching them to understand those tactics at an early age. My son and I will watch the NBA playoffs, and he'll see an advertisement and he'll say, that's them trying to convince me to buy this at an early age already. I think that mindfulness is important. I think that teaching our youth the importance of credit is extremely important. That was something that was beat into me by my family members as I was growing up, and I think that it's a tool that is underutilized for kids. I think that our country encourages people to spend more than they make, but if we can continue to teach people the importance of credit, then they'll be in that much better of a position when they start off, because often those early mistakes and those early decisions that you make are then compounded over the course of your life. And then finally, I think the importance of teaching people the difference between what truly is an asset and what truly is a liability. And understanding the things that you can buy that will provide for you into the future. An asset is a tree. An asset is something that will grow fruit for the future. And a liability is something that you have to pay to maintain over some period of time. So there's often a mix-up as to what truly is an asset and what truly is a liability. So focusing on those conversations at an earlier age will provide for people to not be digging themselves out of a hole later in their financial lives.
The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by Advanced Technology Partners.